It's DUEU tell I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.
Welcome to Football Game Plan to NFL All 32. I'm Emory Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Today, we're going to break down the Dallas Cowboys 2020 NFL season, and let's get this thing kicked off by taking a look at our 4-minute offense. Former Green Bay Packers head coach Mike McCarthy is now the new head man in Dallas after the Cowboys relieved Jason Garrett of his coaching duties after 10 seasons. McCarthy, who will be entering his 14th season as an NFL head coach, compiled a 125, 77-2 record in Green Bay, going 10-8 in the playoffs, winning the Super Bowl in 2010. One of the more important moves he made was to retain Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator. Now, Moore has great rapport with franchise quarterback Dak Prescott and should help make this transition to McCarthy's philosophy a seamless one. Now, McCarthy inherits a turnkey offense, in my opinion, and a defense that has some talent sprinkled about the depth chart. So it'll be his turn to get the Cowboys back to a place they haven't been since 1995, which is the Super Bowl. New defensive coordinator Mike Nolan hopes to create a more opportunistic Cowboys defense in 2020. Last season, Dallas only picked off 7 passes, which was tied for 30th in the NFL, and forced 14 fumbles, which ranked 15th in the league. Now, that's just not going to get the job done, in my opinion. Now, there's no particular play or scheme that you can implement to get your turnover numbers up, but from a mindset perspective, there's a lot you can do. Nolan is coming over from the New Orleans Saints, where he spent the last 3 seasons as the team's linebacker coach, and their linebacking core was always amongst the top 3 on the team in forcing fumbles and picking off passes. When you coach players to play aggressive plays, i.e. turnovers, tend to happen, and the hope is that will happen this season for the Cowboys defense, which underwhelmed in that area last year. Sticking with the coaching staff theme here, John Fossil, the energetic former special teams coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams, will assume the same role for the Dallas Cowboys, and he'll be bringing another former Ram with him in kicker Greg Zuerlein. The strong-legged Zuerlein is coming off his worst season, but the 9-year vet still has one of the best deep legs in the game. Fellow kicker Brett Maher was 5 of 13 from 40+ last season, so the hope is that they'll get a boost from Zuerlein in that department. Also, the overall special teams unit was abysmal last season, which contributed to a few losses on the year for the Cowboys. Investing in their special teams unit with Coach Fossil and some personnel moves that they've made and added should yield much better results in 2020. While many things will be new in the 2020 edition for the Cowboys, some things can get old pretty quick, which is why this year is a pivotal one for certain players on the squad to make an impact. Guys like defensive tackle Tristan Hill and defensive ends Randy Gregory and free agent signing defensive end Aldon Smith, they have to stand out either in camp or during the early parts of the season in order to stick around for the future. Hill was a talented prospect coming out of UCF and has yet to make a significant dent in the depth chart and on the field so far in his career. Now, Gregory has shown to be effective when he's out there on the field, but it's the being on the field part that has been a major issue due to legal suspensions throughout the course of his time with the Cowboys. The same for Aldon Smith, who hasn't played football since 2015 and is trying to make a comeback with the Cowboys after being reinstated by Roger Goodell this offseason. So it will be interesting to see how all 3 fare this year, because if they stand out, it will go a long way in helping the Cowboys reach a lot of their goals defensively. The Dallas Cowboys have what many teams continue to look for, and that's a franchise quarterback. They have that in Dak Prescott. The 5th-year veteran has thrown for nearly 16,000 yards, 97 touchdowns to only 36 interceptions, while completing 65% of his passes, and has a 97 quarterback rating in his career. And on top of that, he has over 1,200 yards rushing and 21 rushing touchdowns. Prescott has led the Cowboys to the playoffs twice and has played well in all 3 of the playoff games in his career. He's also proven to be a clutch performer with 14 game-winning drives and 9 fourth-quarter comebacks as well, including the one in the playoffs. So with all of those facts being what they are, it's time for the Cowboys to understand that and pay him accordingly. And what the Cowboys also have that many teams wish they had is great depth at the position. With the signing of longtime Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Andy Dalton, Dalton gives them a strong QB2 that has played in and has helped his team win a lot of games in his career. And in the 2020 NFL Draft, they selected Ben DiNucci out of James Madison, who was fresh off of a season where he led the Dukes to the national title game against North Dakota State. So it's clear to see that the Cowboys want to stock their quarterback depth chart with winners, and they definitely have done that with this group. To me, they also have the strongest quarterback room in the NFC East. In the backfield, the Cowboys possess another strong collection of talent led by starting tailback Ezekiel Elliott. He's coming off of a 1,300-yard season, finishing with 12 rushing touchdowns, the second time he's had double-digit touchdowns in his career. Elliott is one of the league's top, most explosive, and all-around backs with game-breaking ability. Now, where the Cowboys have also improved over the years is by adding talented depth behind Elliott. Last year, we saw rookie Tony Pollard contribute some significant minutes, proving valuable on offense as well as on special teams. And I'm excited about two undrafted rookie free agents in Darius Anderson out of TCU and Rico Dowdle out of South Carolina. Both guys have a really good chance to make the roster. Anderson has home run speed and could help his cause as a potential kickoff returner. Where many are excited about the Cowboys this season is in the receiving core. Both Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup are coming off of 1,000-yard seasons and a combined 14 touchdowns. Both numbers should be in store once again in 2020 as they have developed a really good rapport with Dak Prescott. The added excitement comes from rookie first-round pick CeeDee Lamb from Oklahoma. What Lamb adds is another game breaker to the offense, one that looks to score every time he has the football in his hands. He provides the perfect third target in their passing game, making them very difficult to defend in the process. Now, there are a bevy of options to fill out the rest of the rosters at receiver spots 4 through 6, but when you look at the receivers, you want to keep an eye on Cedric Wilson and undrafted rookie free agent Aaron Parker out of Rhode Island to be in the mix. Parker is coming off of an excellent career at Rhode Island and a strong week at the East-West Shrine Bowl. At tight end, gone again, is future Hall of Famer Jason Witten, which again should allow Blake Jarwin to finally flourish in this offense. He has the ability to be a considerable threat over the middle of the field and should get that opportunity once again this season. Both Dalton Schultz and free agent signee Blake Bell help keep the position strong in line with their ability to block. Undrafted rookie free agent Charlie Tomapo from Portland State seems to be your ideal H-back type that's good blocking on the perimeter and running routes underneath. Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by 9th & Lux. Visit the website 9thandlux.com and check out the clothing gallery. Nesby Phipps, art, life, entertainment. NesbyPhipps.com. Grind It Out Fitness. Visit the website grinditoutfitness.com and download the app. DoYou Music with feature artist IW and his latest album, Mr. Hunter. Head over to doyoumusic.com. You can also search on Spotify, just search IW Mr. Hunter, and also on Instagram at DoYouMusic.
If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah. DUEU.
Normally when you're talking about Dallas, you want to bring up Big D, and that's the offensive line, whether you're talking about the Great Wall of Dallas or the offensive line that they have currently. So let's get back to our 2020 Dallas Cowboys season preview by taking a look at the offensive line. Up front, the Cowboys still have one of the better offensive lines in football. Some may even argue that they are the best offensive line in the NFL, but we do know this year will be a year in which they enter with some concerns up front. They still have 3 cornerstone players in left tackle Tyron Smith, right tackle La'el Collins, and right guard Zach Martin. Those 3 help stabilize them up front. Now, they also added Cameron Irving in free agency, helping bolster the depth as he's capable of playing anywhere along the offensive line. Where the concerns begin is at center, as Travis Frederick retired this offseason, leaving them with a gaping hole at the position. Right now, the options are Joe Looney, Connor Williams, and rookie Tyler Biadasz out of Wisconsin. Now, Looney may have the inside track to start, but I really like Biadasz to win that job. Williams seems to be in a battle for his position at left guard between Looney and Connor McGovern, who missed the entire rookie season with an injury. The hope is that Williams is able to put a stranglehold on that left guard spot, turning it from a question mark to a strength, and that Looney can win out at center, giving them the luxury of bringing Biadasz along slowly. But if Biadasz is healthy, then to me, he's the best option to replace Frederick in the middle. Moving over to the defensive side of the ball and starting with the defensive line, outside of defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence, there are some questions up front for Dallas. Lawrence had a down year last season, but is still considered one of the league's best at his position. Now, Dallas does get back Tyrone Crawford after losing him to a season-ending hip injury earlier in 2019. The hope is that he can be back to full strength. His health unknown opens the door once again for Dorrance Lawrence to make his presence felt coming off the edge. When given an opportunity, he has flash. And speaking of opportunities, both Randy Gregory and Aldon Smith will be more than likely on their last one with the team in the league, respectively. Gregory, when he's been on the field, has been able to flash. So has Aldon Smith. He was one of the premier defensive end edge rushers in the league prior to going through his issues. And with the latter, we don't know what he has left in the tank after a 4-year layoff. Now, on the interior, the Cowboys were able to answer some questions by making two big, pun intended, splashes during the free agent cycle with the signing of Gerald McCoy and Dontari Poe. Both are expected to not only be starters, but be immediate impact players on a defense that struggled to get pressure up the middle. Ideally, the team would like for Tristan Hill to make significant strides this season after spending a second-round pick on the former UCF Knight back in 2018. Hill has been both ineffective and inactive on game day mainly. Now, where there is hope is from a bevy of young pups that they've added through the draft, like defensive tackles Neville Gallimore and Garrett Marino out of UAB, as well as edge rushers Bradley Anae out of Utah and Rondell Carter out of James Madison. All four have a chance to not only make the squad, but contribute as well. On paper, the linebacking core looks great. Jalen Smith, Leighton Vander Esch, and Sean Lee, when healthy, make up arguably the best core in the NFL. But that's the thing. Health is the biggest question mark about this unit. Smith has been relatively healthy since entering the league and has been progressing every year as a starter. So has Vander Esch, but last year he only played in 9 games, missing the latter part of the season with a neck injury. And it's that injury that gives you a bit of concern coming into the year. Now, he has had surgery during the offseason and has fully recovered and is also cleared to go. So we'll see once they get the pads on how he fares. And Sean Lee's injury history is well documented, but last season was the first time in his career that he has played in every game. Now, the hope is that we'll see more of that moving forward, because if all 3 backers are 100% and ready to go, they'll be dominant, or they'll have to be, because of outside of Joe Thomas, there isn't much depth here at the position. All eyes will be on the Cowboys secondary in 2020, as they will no longer have the services of cornerback Byron Jones, who is now with the Miami Dolphins. It'll be up to Chidobe Awuzie, Anthony Brown, and Jordan Lewis to make major strides in their games this season. Dallas also hit the draft hard at that position as well, bringing in Trayvon Diggs out of Alabama and Reggie Robinson II out of Tulsa, as well as signing both Darryl Worley and Maurice Kennedy in free agency. I would also keep an eye on second-year player Chris Westry, the 6'4" corner out of Kentucky, who played solid in the preseason last year as a guy that could potentially contribute to this defense. So just like the linebacking core, the talent is there on paper. It's up to them whether or not they can realize it this season. What we do know is that whichever way the starting lineup shakes out, this group will be looked upon to improve on the 7 interceptions they got as a whole last season. At safety, Xavier Woods is the lone returning starter, as Dallas has also looked to improve here as well. Woods is in a pivotal season as the guy that needs to start making more plays on the back end. Darian Thompson played well in a reserve role and could find himself garnering more opportunities this year, but in free agency, Dallas went after Clinton Dix to make him the starter opposite of Wood. Now, Clinton Dix was only in Chicago for 1 season, where he picked off 2 passes, bringing 1 back for a touchdown, and also recovered 2 fumbles, and the Cowboys are expecting him to bring his turnover-generating ways to their secondary. But keep an eye out for undrafted rookie free agent Luther KIRK from Illinois State. I like his ball skills and his ability to play out in space. He had a strong Shrine Bowl week, earning MVP of the game. Be sure to order your copy of the Go-Go Offense by Coach Brennan Marion on footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. Coach Marion goes through the ins and outs of his explosive offense, one that's tearing up the college football field and putting a lot of points on the scoreboard. Again, you can order your copy at footballgameplan.com/GoGoOffense. Football Game Plan is brought to you in part by Financial Coaching LLC, Investment, Retirement, Security, Stewardship Credit. Financial growth is in your hands. StewardshipCredit.com. Adrian Marie Photo, photographer, writer, management. AdrianMariePhotography.com. Lock Multimedia. The Academy of Broadcast Media, located in Hackensack, New Jersey. We know training camp is going to go on as scheduled, and there are going to be a ton of surprises that we're going to see this upcoming summer. So let's start with our quick hits around training camp by taking a look at the camp surprises. Darius Anderson, nicknamed the Jet, has a chance to really be a find for the Cowboys during training camp. He's got the fluidity and acceleration to be a chunk playmaker on offense. At worst, he can be an impact special teamer from day one. And Luther, KIRK has excellent spatial awareness and good understanding of passing concepts that seem to always get him in position to make a play on the ball at Illinois State. In a secondary that's looking to make more plays this season, it will be a great opportunity for KIRK to find himself making a play a day in training camp. I think it's obvious that CeeDee Lamb will be the offensive rookie who can make the most impact on the field this season. Lamb can take a short pass a long way and is one to fight for every reception. I think he's going to be a star in Dallas. And Reggie Robinson II was one of the more underrated corners in the draft class, and with his ability to play both man and zone, press or off coverage, he'll stick out like Big Tex in that secondary. Not to sound like a broken record, but I believe this is the year we see Blake Jarwin break out at the position. He's got the job all to himself now, and I feel like now is the time for him to take that step forward. Same for defensive end Doris Armstrong, and while he doesn't have that starting role locked up, he does have a great opportunity to put it all together in training camp to make it hard for the new staff to keep him off the field. When looking at an offensive X factor, I look at the center position with rookie Tyler Beatis out of Wisconsin. He was my #1 center prospect in the draft class. He played banged up a bit last season, but was still very impressive on tape. He can play like he did, if he can play like he did in 2018 during 2020, then the Cowboys will be just fine at the position. And defensively, Dontari Poe is an X factor in my opinion. Dallas couldn't generate any pressure up front, up the middle of their defense last season, and if Poe can occupy and collapse like he does, then Gerald McCoy should be able to feast on solo blocks this upcoming season. One of the major reasons for optimism for Dallas is because of their explosive offense. This is an offense that has a top-notch quarterback, top-notch tailback, 3 excellent wide receivers, and arguably one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. So yes, you can be optimistic about the Cowboys based off their offense heading into the season. You can also be optimistic about the athleticism and versatility that they have on defense. When you have those two things, you're able to match up week in, week out against the many different offenses that you see on any given Sunday. And the Cowboys, again, are athletic up front. They're athletic at the second level. If that athleticism allows them to apply pressure, which then puts the passing game of the offense in a bind, the versatility that they have on the back end now with guys that can play multiple positions and also take the ball away helps you be better as a defense going into 2020. I would also be optimistic about Greg Zuerlein, a big-time kicker coming over from the Los Angeles Rams. Again, he has the distance, so all you have to do if you're the Cowboys offense is cross the 50-yard line and you're well within range. Now, one of the major causes for concern would be the center position. If they're not able to get that squared away and have that position become an asset and not a liability, it could derail what could potentially be one of the best offenses in the NFL. You also look at a lack of big plays on defense. I know I talked about the athleticism and versatility, but if they're not able to convert that into turnovers, whether it's interceptions, fumble recoveries, forced fumbles, sacks, all those good things, then it could be a down year for this defense, or we could see more of what we saw last season from them in that regard. The road to the Super Bowl for the Cowboys goes as follows. Number one, that defense has to be able to turn the ball over. Last year, only 7 interceptions. That number has to get up to at least 15 to 19 in order for them to really transform their defense this season. And the special teams can't cost them games. You could look at maybe 3 times last year where the special teams unit cost them a chance to win, which ultimately kept the Cowboys out of the playoffs. And third, if their offense just goes as we expect it to go, they'll be a top 3 offense in the NFL, both rushing and throwing the football. They'll score a lot of points, and they can find themselves heading to Tampa Bay at the end of the year. I have the Cowboys finishing first in the NFC East. I like their offense led by Dak Prescott and what they have around him. I think they'll be top 3 by the end of the season. Defensively, look for this team to take significant strides forward. I think they'll be much improved from a situational standpoint, which overall will help them win more games than we saw them win in 2019. So that's it for our Dallas Cowboys 2020 NFL team preview. I'm Embry Hunt, the czar of the playbook. Be sure to follow me on all of my social media accounts. Don't forget to check out and subscribe on iTunes to Football Gameplan Podcast and leave us a 5-star rating. That's where you can find our NFL All 32 podcast, and keep it locked here on the Football Gameplan Network for our NFL All 22 show and our fantasy football starting lineup, where we will break down the Dallas Cowboys both in the film room and for your fantasy lineup. And don't forget about Football Game Plan's Best Bets, where we will take a look at the upcoming prop bets, some interesting prop bets for the Dallas Cowboys 2020 season.
It's DUE, tell I see you by this point, you're reading my mind. It's time for football. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, man. We about to keep this thing moving. I'm about it, you're with it, let's do it. We gon' make this thing official, you heard me? If you're the best, then let's prove it. The goal is set to have a team become a unit, yeah.